Hi, this is Jim Lange. In our last several videos, we have talked about some of the synergies of Roth IRA conversions and Social Security, and we just started to get going on some of the details of Social Security, which is what this video is going to be about. Now, it's going to be very tempting for you to say, oh no, I already have my Social Security strategy figured out, or no, I really want to take Social Security early. So before I even get into it, let me just mention that I authored a book on Social Security. I was quoted on CNBC. Our office runs the numbers all the time. The book itself had testimonials from Burton Malkiel, Jonathan Clemens, Paul Merriman, many others. I've had multiple radio shows, and all the top Social Security experts, Larry Kotlikoff, Jane Bryan Quinn, Jonathan Clemens, Mary Beth Franklin, Elaine Floyd, all of these Social Security experts are basically agreeing with me. So basically I'm saying you can't find a Social Security expert who doesn't, let's say by design or by concept, agree with what they just don't, they all agree with what I'm saying. So please take this seriously, and let's talk about before we get into the marital issues and everything else, let's talk about really the big difference between getting it right and getting it wrong. But let's also talk about sources of information. Let me tell you one real bad source, with all due respect. The local Social Security office. Yes, there are Social Security employees that know what they're doing and get the big picture. Very few of them, though, really do. And since ultimately, to me, the underlying goal of a lot of financial planning and a lot of retirement planning is to make sure you never run out of money, that's a much different idea than, let's say, a Social Security worker who might want you to get more money faster at, say, age 62. The other person that you shouldn't be listening to are your friends who, frankly, with all due respect, probably don't have any expertise, don't run the numbers, and they just say something like, oh, the government's no good, you can't trust them, better take the money early because the whole system's going bust anyway. Well, that's not what has happened. Politically, I do not believe it is feasible to have massive wholesale changes to Social Security, and there is such compelling reasons why you should learn about it and, let's say, be more intelligent. The other person don't listen to an advisor if he doesn't give you proof. All right, I'm going to give you proof, and what I'm about to show you with this slide has been peer-reviewed by Trust and Estates magazine. So this isn't something that yes, I did create it, but this isn't something I just made up. And here's the key. All right, so let's take Mr. Red and Mr. Green. They both have identical working records or earnings records for the purposes of collecting Social Security. They have both retired at age 62, and we're not even going to talk about the marital benefits now. We're just going to be talking about Mr. Green and Mr. Red if they were bachelors, although my advice applies even doubly so if you are married. But Mr. Red says, okay, I'm going to take my Social Security, and in order to compare it with holding off until, let's say, age 70, I'm going to invest that money that I receive in Social Security. Now, there is an argument, since Social Security is guaranteed, that you can't get really much better than, say, a 2% rate of return. I'm going to be really generous and give Mr. Red a 4% rate of return. By the way, if you give him a lower rate of return, that's going to prove my point even more. So I'm being generous, let's say, to the other side. All right, Mr. Green, on the other hand, he says, hey, wait, Jim Lange says that for every year I wait, and this isn't quite accurate, mathematically accurate, but let's say to oversimplify, I will get a 76% income increase if I hold off until age 70, just 8% per year alone between 66 and age 70. So he says, okay, I'm going to hold off until age 70. So he's starting at age 70 at zero, but he's getting the 76% raise. All right, that continues. And as you can see in the graph, Mr. Green starts to catch up to Mr. Red. When is the crossover point? Well, depending on what assumptions you use, I came to the conclusion it was age 82. If you want to use a lower rate of return for Mr. Red, then the break-even point would be even lower. So, but let's even just use age 82. Let's say that you had a crystal ball and you said, okay, I know I'm going to die exactly at age 82, and then it's a break-even. Well, there is an argument to say, hey, well, why not? Why take a chance? Why not just take it? Or you might say, well, of course, Jim, we don't have a crystal ball. I don't know when I'm going to die. Maybe before age 82, maybe after age 82, it's unclear to me. Well, that's the way, of course, most of us are. And let's assume for discussion's sake that you don't have a heart condition, or you don't have cancer, or you don't have a family history or some condition that would indicate that you're likely to die before age 82. All right, so let's take two possibilities. One, you do die before age 82. Two, you die perhaps well after age 82. What would happen if you died before age 82? Well, you would die with a little bit more money. The problem with that, and I have to give Larry Kotlikoff credit for this because, by the way, he wrote the #1 book on Social Security, and his point is, if you die early, yes, you will have more money, but the problem is you'll be dead. That doesn't help you when you're dead. Dead people don't have financial problems. For financial purposes, you shouldn't be afraid of dying. You should be afraid of living a long time and outliving your money. So he said, and he said this right live, right on the air, he said, Lange, he didn't even call me Jim, Lange, quit thinking like an actuary, think like an economist. If you're dead, you don't have problems. Your problem is if you live a long time and you don't have sufficient income. And of course, he's right. So let's say you live into your 90s, you're a couple $100,000 better off if you do hold off until age 70, and that doesn't even include the marital benefits that we're going to be talking about. So the general concept is don't worry about dying early. Yes, maybe your state will have a couple more dollars, but and of course that is important, and I spend a large chunk of my career trying to promote the, let's say, financial security, not just of you and your spouse, but also your kids. On the other hand, #1 is both of you and your spouse, or if you're single, just you. So I would rather you take a gamble on living rather than dying, because if you're right, you'll be hundreds of thousands of dollars better off, and you'll be substantially more financially secure, and if you're wrong, you'll be dead anyway. So I say bet on yourself to live. General concept, hold off on Social Security. What we're going to do coming up is talk about a few more details about Social Security, and then we're also going to have perhaps a couple videos on marital benefits with Social Security that are also very important. Thank you.